Absolutely. Here is the full speech based on the 8 keynotes, written in a tone that reflects the warm, sincere and practical style of Mufti Menk, filled with reminders, Quranic inspiration and real life relevance. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the greatest sources of inner turmoil in our lives is when we forget who we are and, more importantly, who we are not. We live in a world that constantly pressures us to take control, to be in charge of every detail, to plan every move, and to fix every problem. But the truth is, we are not designed to carry that kind of burden. We are human, we are weak, we are created with limits, and that's not a flaw, that's part of Allah's perfect design. Allah says in the Quran, and mankind was created weak. Surah An-Nisa 4:28, that's not an insult, that's a reminder. A reminder that you're not supposed to have all the answers, you're not supposed to carry the weight of the future, the past, and the present all at once. That's not your job. Your job is to try, His job is to decide. You see, the heart was not created to run on stress and worry. The heart was created to beat in remembrance of Allah. Yet how often do we forget this and push ourselves beyond our limits, thinking we are the saviors of our own stories? When something doesn't go our way, we panic. When someone disappoints us, we break. When the plan changes, we crumble. But why? Because somewhere deep inside, we thought we were in control. We thought that if we planned it well enough or tried hard enough, things must fall into place. And when they don't, we feel lost. My brothers and sisters, this mindset is not just exhausting, it's spiritually dangerous, because it removes Allah from the equation. It makes us think that success comes only from our own efforts, and failure is a result of our shortcomings, when in reality, everything is by the will of Allah. Let's reflect. Did you choose the family you were born into? Did you choose the color of your skin, the shape of your face, the country you live in, the time you entered this world? No, none of those things were in your hands. They were chosen for you, and yet these are the very foundations of your life. If even the basics were not up to you, then why do we assume that we can control every outcome later on? Allah, in His wisdom, has placed limits on us not to restrict us, but to liberate us, to remind us that we are not gods. We are servants. We are Abdullah, the slaves of Allah. When you accept your limitations, you stop expecting yourself to fix everything. You stop trying to please everyone. You stop being angry when things don't go your way. Because now you realize that it's not all up to you, and how freeing is that? When you embrace the fact that you are not meant to control everything, it doesn't make you weaker, it brings you peace. You begin to let go. You begin to breathe. You begin to live not with the pressure of perfection, but with the comfort of divine guidance. And that is when real trust begins to grow, because now, instead of relying on your limited self, you begin to rely on the one who is limitless. My beloved brothers and sisters, after we recognize our limitations, the next step is not despair, it is trust. Not blind trust in the world, not desperate trust in people, but conscious, deliberate, unshakable trust in Allah. In fact, this trust, what we call Tawakkul, is not optional for the believer. It is a command from the Lord of the worlds. Allah says, and upon Allah let the believers rely. Surah Al-Imran 3:122. He doesn't say if you feel like it, or in good times only. He says, let the believers rely. It is part of your identity as a believer that you trust Him, that you know deep in your soul that whatever He does is better than what you wanted. But what does Tawakkul really mean? It is not laziness. It is not sitting back and saying Allah will take care of it while doing nothing. No, real Tawakkul is when you do your absolute best and then you let go of the anxiety because you know the outcome was never in your hands to begin with. You tie your camel, but your heart is not tied to the rope. You apply for the job, you study for the exam, you raise your children with love, but your heart is attached to the one who controls results, not the result itself. The Prophet once told a man, tie your camel and trust in Allah. Termid, that single sentence contains a whole philosophy of life. Work hard, plan smart, be responsible, but once you've done your part, release it. Let your heart rest in the hands of the one who never makes mistakes, never forgets, never needs a plan B. That is Tawakkul. It's walking into uncertainty with peace. It's standing at the edge of the Red Sea like Musa alayhis salam, with a tyrant chasing you and no boat in sight, and still saying with full confidence, "Indeed, with me is my Lord. He will guide me." Surah Ash-Shu'ara 26:62. Can you imagine that kind of trust? When everyone else sees disaster, the believer sees divine wisdom. When people say, "What now?" the one who has tawakkul says, "Allah knows." When others are paralyzed by fear of the future, the one who trusts in Allah moves forward not because they know what's coming, but because they know who is already there. Tawakkul, my dear brothers and sisters, is what gives the heart strength even when the body is weak. It's what makes dua powerful, because you're not just asking, you're trusting. It's what makes patience possible, because you're not just waiting, you're believing. And it's what separates panic from peace, because while the storm may be raging, the heart that has tawakkul is still. Remember, nothing you lost was ever meant to stay, and nothing written for you will ever miss you. Your job is not to force the outcome. Your job is to submit to the one who already knows it. So when things feel uncertain, when life takes a turn you didn't expect, when your efforts don't bring the results you were hoping for, don't let Shaitan convince you that you've failed. You haven't failed. You've just reached the part where tawakkul begins. And that is the point where real faith starts to rise in the heart, the moment when you surrender your worries not in defeat, but in full hope and reliance upon the one who says, "Whoever relies upon Allah, then he is sufficient for him." Surah Talaq 65:3. Not just support, not just help, but sufficient, enough, complete, entire. Everything you need is with him. And when you begin to live with that mindset, when you allow tawakkul to enter your bones, when you stop carrying what was never yours to carry, when your hands are working but your heart is resting in Allah's hands. My beloved brothers and sisters, worry is part of being human. It's a response built into us, a sign that we care, a signal that something matters to us. It's okay to feel nervous before a big decision. It's okay to worry about your children, your health, your future. Even the prophets, the best of creation, felt moments of concern, moments of pain, moments where they cried out to Allah in deep distress. Look at Yaqub alayhis salam, the father of Yusuf. When his son was taken from him, his grief was so deep that he lost his eyesight. But what did he say? "I only complain of my suffering and my grief to Allah." Surah Yusuf 12:86. He didn't deny his pain. He didn't pretend everything was fine. He didn't feel ashamed for grieving. He just knew where to take it straight to Allah. And that's the difference. It's not a sin to worry. But when your worry becomes overwhelming, when it begins to shake your faith, disconnect you from prayer, consume your sleep, and blind you to the mercy of Allah, that's when it needs to be addressed. There's a line between natural concern and destructive anxiety. The first keeps you alert, the second robs you of peace. The first draws you closer to Allah in dua, the second makes you question His wisdom. The first helps you prepare, the second paralyzes you with fear, and Shaitan loves that second one. He doesn't always need to make you sin, he just needs to make you doubt, to fill your heart with so many what-ifs that you forget in Nama ya Rabbi, indeed, my Lord is with me. He wants to convince you that everything is out of control, so you forget who is always in control. Subhanallah, how many times have we gone through hardship, stressed ourselves, cried ourselves to sleep, only to later say, "It worked out. I shouldn't have worried so much." How many times did you lie awake at night, fearing the worst, and Allah gave you better than you imagined? That's the thing about excessive worry, it convinces you of a lie. It makes you think you're alone. But you're not even for a second. Allah says He is with you wherever you are. Surah Al-Hadid 57:4. Even when you're crying, even when you're anxious, even when you're silently drowning inside while smiling in front of others, you're not alone, but you have to remember that. You see, overwhelming worry doesn't just hurt the heart, it clouds your perception of Allah. You start thinking He's distant, that your duas aren't heard, that maybe your life won't get better. But that's not the voice of Iman, that's the whisper of despair, and despair has no place in the heart of a believer. Allah reminds us again and again in the Quran, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. Surah Az-Zumar 39:53. If Allah tells you not to despair even in your sins, what about your worries that came from love, from fear, from the unknown? Don't you think He sees? Don't you think He cares? Of course He does, more than anyone else ever could. But we must learn to shift our response. When worry starts to rise in your chest, don't suppress it, and don't let it consume you either. Redirect it. Turn it into dua, turn it into hikah, turn it into sujud. Let it drive you closer to Allah, not further from Him, because the believer's heart isn't free from worry, it just knows where to take it. It knows that whatever tomorrow holds, Allah is already there. It knows that the same Lord who split the sea for Musa, who protected Yunus in the belly of the whale, who turned the fire cool for Ibrahim, can surely handle your problems too. So yes, my dear brothers and sisters, worry is natural, but it should never be so strong that it chokes your hope, shakes your trust, or weakens your connection to Allah, and that is why we must always return our focus to the only one who never leaves us. My beloved brothers and sisters, if there is one truth that brings comfort during pain, one truth that holds you up when everything feels like it's falling apart, it is this: Allah's plan is always better than your own. You may not see it now, you may not understand it tomorrow. You may even cry from confusion, fall into sajda with a heavy heart and ask, "Why, Ya Allah, why this? Why now?" But one day, perhaps not in this world, but surely in the next, you will look back and say, "Alhamdulillah, it happened exactly the way it did." You see, Allah is not limited by what we see. He is not confined by our timelines, our emotions, or our logic. He is Al-Hakim, the All-Wise. He is Ar-Aman, the Most Merciful. He is Al-Alim, the All-Knowing. He sees the full picture, while you and I only see a tiny fragment. And sometimes His plan means taking you through the hardship rather than around it. Sometimes His plan means removing someone from your life, delaying a blessing you were praying for, closing a door you were sure would lead to happiness only because He knows something you don't. How many times have we begged for something, cried for it, planned for it, only to realize later if we had gotten it, it would have broken us. That job you didn't get may have taken you away from your deen. That person you wanted to marry may have drained your soul. That delay in your plans may have been the exact thing that brought you closer to Allah. You were asking for something good, but He was preparing you for something better. And that's what we often forget, that Allah's plan doesn't always come wrapped in ease. Sometimes it comes wrapped in tests, heartbreak, silence, and long nights. But underneath it all is mercy. Hidden in every difficulty is a reason. Didn't Allah say, "Perhaps you dislike something while it is good for you, and perhaps you love something while it is bad for you, and Allah knows while you know not"? Surah Al-Baqarah 2:216. There are moments when you lose something, and you feel like your world has ended, but it's actually just beginning. There are days when you're delayed in reaching something only to find out later that what you were rushing toward wasn't meant for you at all. You see, we only see the immediate pain, but Allah sees what that pain will bring: the strength, the growth, the shift in your path that will bring you closer to Him. Look at the life of Yusuf alayhi salam. He was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a well, sold into slavery, and imprisoned for something he didn't do. If anyone had a reason to feel like life was unfair, it was him. But what happened in the end? He became a minister. He was reunited with his family. His story became a timeless example of trust, patience, and divine wisdom. And what do we read at the beginning of Surah Yusuf? Indeed, we relate to you the best of stories. Surah Yusuf 12:3. That's what Allah does with your story. He writes it with perfection, even if the chapters hurt. So the next time something doesn't go your way, pause. Don't rush to label it as a loss. Don't let Shaitan whisper that Allah has forgotten you. Remind yourself, if I asked Allah for something and He didn't give it, He either saved me from harm or replaced it with better. Either way I win, and even if the better doesn't come right away. Even if you don't see it in the form you expected, know that the delay is not denial, the wait is not punishment, the struggle is not rejection, it is redirection, it is preparation. It is Allah reshaping your path in a way that may not make sense now, but will make perfect sense later. Because Allah doesn't abandon, He doesn't forget, He doesn't make mistakes, and once your heart truly believes that once it finds peace in the unseen wisdom of His plan, then even in the storm, you'll feel steady. Even in the unknown, you'll walk with light. Even when life tests you, you'll say, "My beloved brothers and sisters, fear is something we all feel. It creeps into the heart silently. It shows up in our thoughts, our decisions, our silence. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of people, fear of the future. And let me tell you, feeling fear does not make you weak. Even the strongest believers felt fear, but the difference is they didn't allow it to control them. They allowed faith to rise above it. That is what true strength is, not the absence of fear, but the presence of faith despite fear. Allah acknowledges fear in the Quran. He doesn't deny that you will feel it. But He teaches us what to do when fear knocks at our door. He says, "It is only Shaitan who frightens you of his supporters. So fear them not, but fear me if you are true believers." Surah Al-Imran 3, 175. Shaitan works through fear. He whispers doubts, fuels anxiety, magnifies problems, and makes you imagine the worst. He says things like, "What if it doesn't work out? What if you fail again? What if people laugh at you? What if this pain never ends?" But faith, real faith, speaks a different language. It says, "What if Allah makes a way? What if this delay is His mercy? What if I fall and rise even stronger? What if this trial becomes the reason for my Jannah?" Fear focuses on the problem. Faith focuses on the one who can fix it. My brothers and sisters, you cannot move forward in life if fear is driving you. Fear holds you back from taking good steps. Fear stops you from asking Allah boldly. Fear makes you question your worth. Fear creates imaginary walls that block real blessings. But when you have Iman, true belief in your heart, those walls begin to fall, because you no longer rely on your own strength alone. You rely on the one who never weakens, never loses, and never sleeps. Look at Ibrahim alayhi salam. He was thrown into a fire built by an entire nation. Imagine the fear that could have taken over his heart. But what did he say? "Sufficient for us is Allah, and He is the best disposer of affairs." Surah Al-Imran 3, 173. And what happened? The fire became cool. The same fire meant to destroy him became a miracle. That is what happens when faith takes the lead. The impossible becomes possible. The terrifying becomes manageable. The hardship becomes a doorway to something greater. Fear says, "This is too big." Faith says, "Allah is greater." And remember, fear and faith can't occupy the same space for long. One will push the other out. So when fear starts to grow in your heart, water your faith. Remind yourself of Allah's names: Azak the provider, Al-Wakil the one to rely on, Al-Latif the subtle and kind. Read the stories of the prophets. Reflect on your own past victories. Think of the times Allah pulled you out of what you thought you'd never survive. Faith grows through reflection. It grows when you remember what Allah has already done for you. It grows when you speak to Him in dua, when you cry to Him in sujud, when you surrender the fear you've been silently carrying for so long. So, the next time fear starts to rise in your chest, don't fight it alone. Don't let it spiral. Turn to your faith. Speak to Allah. And tell your heart, "My fear may be real, but so is my Rab. My problems are many, but Allah is greater than them all. My path is unclear, but my trust is in the one who guides. My future is uncertain, but my Lord is never unsure." And when faith begins to lead your thoughts, your emotions, and your choices. My beloved brothers and sisters, in moments of pain, in seasons of waiting, in times when your heart feels heavy and your chest is tight, there is one thing that every believer can turn to, regardless of where they are, what time it is, or how broken they feel. And that is dua. Dua is not just an act of worship, it is an expression of complete trust, total surrender, and intimate connection with the one who knows you better than you know yourself. When you make dua, you're not just asking, you're admitting something very powerful. "Ya Allah, I can't do this on my own, I need you." And that moment, that deeply sincere, humble moment, is not weakness. It is strength, because you're placing your heart in the safest hands. You're turning your burdens over to the one who never tires, never gets overwhelmed, and never ignores a sincere cry. Allah says in the Quran, and your Lord says, "Call upon me, I will respond to you." Surah Ghafir 40:60, he commands you to call on him. He doesn't say, "I might respond," or "maybe when I have time." He says, "I will," no conditions, no limitations, no time restrictions, just call upon me. My brothers and sisters, when you are hurt by the world, when people don't understand you, when your heart feels like it's carrying more than it can handle, people may say, "Don't worry, I'm here for you." But even the kindest of people get tired. Even the most well-meaning hearts get distracted, but Allah never leaves, and He never says, "Not now." In fact, He loves it when you turn to Him. He loves it when you raise your hands, when you cry in your sajda, when you whisper quietly between breaths, even when your voice shakes. He hears even the dua you couldn't find the words to say. Dua is not just asking for things you want. Sometimes it's just sitting alone in the middle of the night and saying, "Ya Allah, I'm struggling, please help me." Sometimes it's weeping without words, and your heart doing all the talking. Sometimes it's not even about changing the situation, it's about finding strength to go through it. Because that's the beauty of dua, it's not just a request, it's a relief. It lightens your chest before it even changes your reality. It reminds you that you are never alone. It pulls you out of the darkness and places you back into the light. The Prophet said, "Dua is the weapon of the believer." Hadith al-Hakim, what does a weapon do? It protects you, it gives you the ability to defend yourself from harm. In this world full of trials, stress, anxiety, envy, and uncertainty, your strongest protection is not a person, a plan, or your own power. It is your dua, your direct line to the King of Kings, and know this, no dua is ever wasted. Even if you don't see the answer right away, even if the situation stays the same, even if the person you're praying for doesn't change, you have changed. Your heart has softened, your faith has deepened, your soul has remembered its source. Sometimes Allah delays the answer to draw you closer to Him. Sometimes He doesn't give you what you asked for because He's saving you from something harmful. And sometimes He's waiting for you to keep asking, to keep showing up, to prove that your trust isn't just in His blessings but in Him. That's why our duas should never stop, even when we're tired, even when we feel unheard, even when we think, "What's the point?" Because every dua is recorded, every tear is seen, every whisper is heard, and Allah, in His perfect timing, will give you exactly what you need. So whenever the weight feels too much, whenever the future scares you, whenever the path looks foggy and you can't see where you're going, stop everything. Make wudu, face the Qibla, raise your hands and just say, "Ya Allah, I leave this to you." Let dua become your first response, not your last resort. Let it be your daily refuge, not an emergency exit. Because the believer who makes dua regularly carries a quiet strength not from within, but from above. My beloved brothers and sisters, there are times in life when the present feels heavy and the future feels uncertain. You're praying, you're trying, you're waiting, and still things seem stuck or unclear. In those moments, Shaitan tries to whisper, "What if nothing changes?" But this is where you need to pause. Take a deep breath and look behind you. Look at your past. How many times in your life have you gone through something that seemed unbearable, but you made it through? How many moments were filled with anxiety, heartbreak, confusion? But in the end, Allah brought you out of it. Maybe not how you expected, but always how it was meant to be. You didn't always get what you wanted, but you received what you needed. And often, what you received was even better than what you thought you were missing. This is not just reflection, this is a tool of faith. Because when you look back with honesty, you'll start to notice a pattern. Allah was always there. He never abandoned you, not when you were crying silently in the dark, not when you were surrounded by people but still felt alone, not when you thought, "I can't do this anymore." You didn't do it alone. Allah carried you through, and if He brought you through all of that, why would He leave you now? Sometimes we need to remind ourselves, the dua that you once cried with so much desperation, it was answered. Maybe not in the exact way or time you wanted, but it was answered in the wisest way. That one difficulty you thought would break you, it shaped you. That delay you thought was a denial, it gave you something you weren't even asking for, something better. Faith, my brothers and sisters, doesn't only come from books and lectures. It comes from looking at your own life and saying, Subhan Allah, I've been through so much, and Allah got me through every single time. That's not coincidence. That's divine care. That's a Rab who has always been gently guiding you even when you didn't realize it, even when you were making mistakes, even when your faith was weak, even when you doubted yourself. Allah never stopped writing your story with mercy. He was with you in every chapter, the easy ones, the painful ones, the confusing ones, and He is with you now. And this is why the Quran tells us stories. Why do we read about the pain of Yusuf, the fear of Musa, the heartbreak of Maryam, the loneliness of Yunus? Because those are real stories of real people who felt what we feel, and still, Allah never abandoned them. He responded to their du'as. He turned their pain into purpose. He took them from hardship to healing. And He will do the same for you. But sometimes the heart forgets. Sometimes we get so caught up in what's going wrong right now that we forget what already went right. So next time you feel like giving up, do this. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Go back to a time you thought, I'll never get through this. Now look at yourself today. You got through it, not because you were strong, but because Allah was with you. And if He did it before, He will do it again. He didn't bring you this far to abandon you now. He didn't write your story just to leave it unfinished. He didn't teach you patience just to let it break you. So use your past not as a reason to be bitter, but as a source of proof that your future is still in good hands. Because every difficulty you've already survived is a silent testimony whispering, Allah is with you. He always has been, and He always will be. My beloved brothers and sisters, after all the struggle, after all the tears, after all the waiting and worrying, there is something your heart deeply craves. It's not more wealth, it's not recognition. It's not even the perfect life or the perfect outcome. What your soul longs for is something far greater and far rarer. It's called Rida, true contentment with Allah's decree. You see, many people live in a constant state of friction. They're fighting with what is instead of trusting in who allowed it to be. Their hearts say, why did this happen to me? Why didn't I get what I asked for? Why does their life look easier than mine? Why do I have to wait while others move forward? In that silent internal struggle, it doesn't just exhaust the heart, it distances it from peace. Because how can you ever be at peace if you haven't accepted that Allah knows what you do not? Rida is not giving up. It's not pretending to be happy, it's not wearing a smile while your heart burns inside. No, Rida is something deeper. It is the soul's quiet submission that says, Ya Allah, even if I don't understand it now, I trust you. It's when the heart bows before the decree of Allah, not with resistance, but with reverence. And that, my brothers and sisters, is one of the highest stations a believer can reach. Not everyone who prays has Rida. Not everyone who is patient has Rida. Rida is a gift, a light that enters the heart when your trust in Allah is greater than your disappointment in life. Allah tells us, no calamity befalls except by the permission of Allah, and whoever believes in Allah, He guides his heart. Surah At-Taghabun 64:11. What does that mean? It means the one who believes not just on the tongue, but in the heart is the one whose heart Allah guides through hardship, not necessarily out of the hardship, but through it. That's the beauty of trusting the Qadr divine decree. Even when life feels turbulent on the outside, your soul becomes still on the inside. You begin to realize that nothing ever missed you unless it was never meant for you. That nothing ever reached you unless it was written for you before you were even born. That no matter how much you try, how much you cry, or how much you plan, what Allah has willed will come to pass. And what He has not willed, no amount of striving can force into your hands. But Rida doesn't mean you don't try. It means you try without being attached to the result. You make your effort with excellence, you ask Allah with sincerity, and then you say from the bottom of your heart, if it is written for me, it will come to me. If not, then Allah has chosen something better even if I can't see it now. That's not weakness. That is spiritual maturity, that's strength, that's peace, that's freedom from the chains of jealousy, anxiety, entitlement, and regret. Because the person who has Rida is not always smiling on the outside, but they're calm on the inside. They're not shaken by what others have. They're not bitter about what they lost. They're not paralyzed by the uncertainty of the future. Why? Because their heart is attached, not to outcomes, but to Allah. And when your heart is truly with Him, everything else begins to fall into place. Even your unanswered du'as, even your unfinished stories, even your heartbreaks, even your delayed blessings. You begin to realize that everything you thought went wrong was actually taking you somewhere right. Rida doesn't mean you don't cry. It means you cry to Allah instead of about Him. It means your pain doesn't turn into complaints, it turns into closeness. It means you stop wishing for a different life and start living this one with full trust in the one who wrote it. Because the believer who has Rida walks through this world with ease, not because life is easy, but because they've surrendered their heart to the one who never makes mistakes.